Luca Nation, what's going on? It's been about a week since we did our last Scouts episode, and here we are. It's NBA Finals time.
Yes, sir.
Not the way we might have expected it. Maybe some people did. I would argue ESPN probably isn't so happy because the ratings may be down. But all of us true basketball fans, this is going to be a really, really fun series. And fingers crossed, you want to see the two best teams play. You want to see Giannis back on the floor. And we're going to break all of that down here and more in just a second. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about Kawhi. Why Kawhi? Where's he going to go in the offseason? Who's he going to team up with? Is he going to stay with the Clippers? I'm hearing, from a few people, Ramona Shelburne. I'm just making that up because she doesn't talk to me. Is he going to go to the Mavs? Is he going to go somewhere else? Conrad especially wanted to talk about Kawhi and where he's going. Let's talk about that, then we'll get into the NBA Finals preview. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, maybe 15, 20 minutes tops.
Yep, definitely. So, overall, a lot of us know that Kawhi Leonard was just signed with the LA Clippers, a couple of years ago. They blew the 3-1 last year, and they just lost in the conference finals this year. Granted, he was not healthy. He wasn't playing during the conference finals, and maybe if he was, things would have been different. But regardless, a loss is a loss, and you can't go back and change any of that, right? So that means 2 straight years that this Clippers organization has not been able to get the job done, has not even been able to make the finals, not even, win it. They haven't even been able to make the finals yet with him on the roster. And so that could, of course, lead to him deciding to leave in the offseason. If he doesn't think that they're going to be able to get the job done for these next couple of years while he's, maybe approaching the end of his prime, he wants to win championships. Kawhi's a guy that likes to win. He wants to win, and he'll pretty much do anything that it takes to win. And so if he doesn't think that the LA Clippers can get that done for him, then he's probably going to be moving on. But there's a couple of other factors that people don't talk about or that people don't talk about enough when talking about Kawhi Leonard and where he could potentially go in free agency. So here's what I want to mention. He wants to be in LA, or at least close to LA. He wants to be close to home. That is a huge thing with him, and that is why the top team for him to go to originally back in 2019 was the LA Lakers, but he decided not to join them and instead joined the Lakers, or instead joined the Clippers for a couple of reasons I'll mention later on, just a couple of minutes from now. And so he wants to stay close to home. If he can stay maybe even in just California, then that would be great as well. Right? Just somewhere relatively close to home, not in Toronto, not in Boston, near the West Coast, near LA, near California, right? He wants to be close to home. He wants to obviously be winning a championship, but he can't just sign anywhere. He can't sign to the Sacramento Kings, who are in California, but there's no way that even if he signs there, that team is a championship contending squad. So there's no way that he would go to some team like that, one of the worst teams in the league. And then at the same time, something that is never mentioned, in my opinion, is the way that the front office handles things. Because Kawhi Leonard got an injury back in, I want to say 2014 or 2015 from Zaza Pachulia. It was an ankle injury of some sort, and it's kind of been bothering him ever since. That's part of why he has load management, takes games off. He does it for his own health and safety. So that has led to a bit of pampering from the front office. Hey, you can do load management. Hey, you can do this. But at the same time, there's also been some amenities that have been thrown in there, like certain plane flights, certain luxuries that he specifically gets, skipping practices and stuff like that not a lot of people talk about. Yes, I know. It's kind of insane that not a lot of people talk about. And the Clippers have been willing to do that for him. But some teams in the league may not be able to do that, or may not be willing to actually say, hey, take this practice off, take these couple of weeks off, or whatever it may be. Whereas
what's funny? And sorry to cut you off. As someone who's been a part of team culture my whole life growing up, I was part of soccer. There's a little bit of that even if it's allowed by the GMs, the front office, the players don't take too kindly of that. And I think you start looking at that Clippers team, and now maybe you start to get some answers as to why they look the way they did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know Montrezl Harrell was upset with it. He talked about that after he left. I believe Lou Williams was also a bit upset with that. And I want to say there was another player that I'm forgetting that had also come out and said some stuff about, the way that Kawhi Leonard was being handled within the Clippers organization compared to everybody else. But I don't remember who else it was. However, yes, it did also ruin, team chemistry and team culture. And it messed with the chemistry between all of the players, right? But the Clippers are still willing to do that for him. And if that is something that ranks high on his list of importance, then that may be a huge influence in where he goes in free agency. And one of the other thing that I will mention, the final thing, is I'm not 100% sure that this is correct, but I also believe that he wants to stay in relatively warm weather. I don't think he wants to be somewhere cold. Like, he wants to stay in an area like near the south. That's, nice and warm. He doesn't have to worry about a place like Toronto that's freezing cold all the time. You got plenty of snow and stuff like that. He wants to be in the sunny beaches of, Cali or LA or whatever it is, right? So I'll give you my top 4 teams and the reasons why he will or won't go to each of them, right? So the 4th team on the list is the Golden State Warriors. I'm not 100% sure how likely this is to even happen. I'm not sure if the Warriors can clear enough cap space to even bring him in, because I believe that they're incredibly high over the luxury tax or the cap, the hard cap right now, like extremely high. So I'm not completely sure how likely it is that he even goes there, but it is certainly a possibility. Like I said, near his home, warm weather. I believe that they'd be willing to probably throw in some of those amenities that he needs. They're a championship contending squad. But the biggest reason that they're number 4 is I don't know for sure how likely it is that they actually are able to pull that off, right? I'm not even sure if it's even on his radar to go there. Number 3 was the LA Lakers, because that was one of the teams that he was going to go to potentially in the 2019 offseason. But the reason why he didn't do that was because he didn't want to join a super team. However, the Nets are now a super team. It's going to be pretty hard to beat them at some point on your own or with a solid supporting cast. Maybe his thoughts change and he's like, you know what? I'm willing to join a super team if that means we can beat the Brooklyn Nets and I can still get another championship ring on my finger, right? Maybe things have changed. I personally still believe that no, it hasn't, because I think he wants to be the number 1 guy on that team, or at least the number 2. And in LA, maybe that doesn't happen, or not in LA, but in the Lakers organization specifically, that doesn't happen. So that's why they're number 3. Number 2, this is so difficult, number 2 and number 1 for me. I'm not completely sure which one I want to pick. But I'm going to put this team number 2. It is going to be the Miami Heat, because the single biggest reason for that is when the LA Clippers were trying to figure things out, right? And they were trying to get Kawhi Leonard on the team. He had to pick a co-star alongside him, and they ended up with Paul George, right? But do you know who the number 1 guy on his list was before Paul George? Just take a guess.
Is it Luka?
No. Somebody that they could have signed in free agency that year. Mr. Jimmy Butler. And where's Jimmy Butler right now?
I would think that they're really similar players, except Kawhi's just a lot better.
Well, I mean, they are, in my opinion. Very good defensive guys. Both of them are extremely good mid-range scorers, although Kawhi Leonard is much better from three-point range. Jimmy Butler is a leader, a dog on both sides of the ball. I like the fit personally. I would love to see them both play together, but that was his number 1 guy. And then they find out that, hey, he signed with the Heat. It's too late to get him. And then he said, okay, then we'll go with Paul George. That's like my number 2 guy. So they went and got Paul George. But Jimmy Butler's in Miami. They have a really good supporting cast. And if they, in a sign and trade with LA, they could clear enough space to, of course, bring Kawhi in and still remain a championship contending team, even against a team like the Brooklyn Nets, at least in my opinion. However, at number 1, I do have him returning to the LA Clippers. Everything checks off. The only reason that they didn't win this year was because he got injured at the last second, right? So it was just an unfortunate case of bad timing, right? But the team's still great. They got Kawhi, they got PG, they got Rajon Rondo to run the offense. They have Serge Ibaka as a nice rim protector and a nice scoring option, especially a guy that can kind of space the floor from the big position, and some solid depth as well, right? Reggie Jackson, Ivica Zubac, and of course other players as well. Nicholas Batum is worth mentioning. I think he'll probably return to LA. I don't know for sure how large the deal will be, how long it'll be. I'm going to guess at most 1 or 2 years with a player option or something like that. But I do have LA as the number 1 choice this season.
Is he unrestricted or restricted?
I think he has. I want to say he has a player option. I think he has a player option this season.
I think he'd work really well on the Lakers. Like, I think the Lakers need someone like Kawhi who could go and get his own bucket consistently, which will free up space for LeBron to get to the rim. LeBron's biggest issue is not having space in the paint to score. And when you have someone like Kawhi that could go and get your own bucket, that could demand defensive attention, is going to help. It's going to help LeBron a lot. I could see him on the Lakers.
Yeah.
Also,
I think it's
Steve
possible.
Ballmer, the president of the Clippers, is just weird, and I would never want to play for him.
He's a wild man, to say the least. Wild,
he's
wild,
grabbing people's
wild guy.
thighs and groins and stuff like that when they're celebrating. That was weird.
Yeah. No
And then
doubt.
Stephen A. Smith, what was that about? Saying Ty Lue is the best coach in the NBA? If he's the best coach in the NBA, why didn't he win? Why didn't he win Coach of the Year? Why did Monty Williams win? It just doesn't even make sense.
I don't know. I really don't know. It's ESPN. They got to get a click somehow. You mentioned so yourself. ESPN may not be the biggest fan of this finals matchup because they won't be getting as many clicks. So they got to make up those clicks in other ways, right? Maybe that's what that take is for.
You know what? You know what? Devin Booker's career has potential to remind me of Kobe. Kobe.
Of course, I was thinking
his game is similar to Kobe. Mindset, you never know.
You're muted real quick. I don't know what happened. Yeah, that happened, I think, a couple episodes ago, too. But yeah, there you go. You're good. I heard mindset. That was the last thing. I can hear you now.
Mindset's this weird thing where, like, you don't really know what's going on in someone's mind, but you do know looking backwards to see their progress. And Booker's been an interesting guy. You know, he's a scorer. He had a 70-point game. Chris Paul comes in. He found his role. You know, he didn't. How do I word this? There wasn't any drama on this Phoenix team. And it seems like, you know, of course not. You know, Devin Booker's a quiet guy, but you never know. Mm-hmm. He was like, okay, Chris Paul's the leader of this team. I'm going to play my role. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough, how seamlessly this team came together.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like there's a lot of egos. And here we are, you know, Devin Booker is being mentored by Chris Paul. I've already seen his improvement as a ball handler. We talked about it maybe one or two scout episodes before this, how he could be a primary ball handler. He's not just a number 2 shooting guard. So now you keep seeing this evolution of Devin Booker, improve. And I think it's hard to say that they're not the favorite to win this championship, especially with Giannis out.
It's not a guarantee. He might be coming back from game 1. It was just released, I want to say, like 30 minutes ago. He's working like round the clock to try to make sure he's back for game 1. But continue.
The point is, he's still so young. He's had this experience of running the team on his own, being on a few losing teams. Now he has an amazing relationship with this coach, Monty Williams. He's been mentored by Chris Paul. Chris Paul maybe has 1-2 years left. But Devin Booker's 24 years old. He has an amazing career in front of him. So Devin Booker's career is something I'm monitoring closely, and it reminds me of a track record, not identical to Kobe. So I want to say that, Conrad, give us your take on what you expect to see in these finals.
I want to hear a little bit from you as well, because here's the thing. Does it worry you at all? Look, the Suns have played very well. They beat the Lakers in 6, swept the Denver Nuggets, beat the Clippers in 6 as well, right? However, does it worry you at all that they have not played a fully healthy team? And they still may not, depending on Giannis's health against this Bucks team, right? LeBron's battered, and so is Anthony Davis for the Lakers-Suns series. Jamal Murray's out against the Nuggets, and Kawhi's gone against the Clippers. It's not like those are just 3 role players that happen to be out or, you know, a bit injured. Those are 3 of the top 2 guys on those teams for each one of them, right? Does that worry you or concern you at all going into this series? That they may not be, not necessarily that they may not be ready, but that this series may be a lot closer than we think, because they've pretty much dominated, honestly. Like, when they win, it's not usually a close game. But like, is that concerning to you at all that they have not played?
I think not at all, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes when a team is so under the radar, we lack to see what's right in front of us. Mm-hmm. They've been the best team since the bubble. They have been the Phoenix Suns since last August, have been the best NBA team, bar none. It's not even close. And they've gotten a lucky break, a lucky draw. But at the same time, they've dominated all year. They were 1 game behind Utah for the best record in the league. They were 8-0 in the bubble. There's no one, except for maybe the Lakers, who had a 2-1 lead on them. There's no team that's really put up a fight. Yes, Jamal Murray's been injured. Anthony Davis has been injured, but you play who you got. You play with what you got. Yeah, and here Giannis is injured. He might be back for game 2, but that looked like a bad injury. It's surprising that wasn't worse.
Not good.
When I saw that live, that was cringeworthy to say the least.
Yeah.
They've beaten every team in front of them, and they haven't done it for a few weeks. They haven't done it even for a few months. They've done it for a full year since we backtracked to the bubble. They were 8-0. Best record in the NBA, only second to the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
I think it would be foolish to underrate this team just because they don't have a true ESPN superstar, because they have superstars. They just don't have like the ESPN LeBron or Kawhi or Durant or Irving, the people they love to talk about in big market teams. I would watch out for this team because not only are the Bucks missing Giannis, the Bucks aren't a deep team either. And now they don't have Dante DiVincenzo, and this Phoenix Suns team is deep. We've talked about that. They could throw different guys at you, different rotations at you. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. I do agree. I agree with you. I just wanted to pose that question. I wanted to see what you would say. I agree. I'm not necessarily concerned that they haven't played a fully healthy team, and I also don't think that really discredits them in any way or discredits this ring. Look, you can't change who you face. You can't change anything about that. A ring is a ring, and that goes for LeBron last year too. It sucks that they faced the number 4 seed Miami Heat, or in the finals. They had a relatively easy path. They had a couple injuries in the finals. It doesn't matter. A ring is a ring, and like it's not like the Lakers shot someone in the foot in order to get them to sit for the next 3 games, right? You can't change anything about that. Injuries happen in the league, and you just got to kind of deal with them, as much as it sucks to say. There was something else that I specific. Oh, yes. You mentioned no quote unquote ESPN superstar. And that's the thing. We tend to underrate teams that don't have a top 10 player.
Right.
When we really think about it, we're like, seriously, when is the last time, especially because of the Golden State Warriors, when is the last time that we have seen a team win a championship without like a true superstar? Like, I mean, even Dirk was like pretty much almost a top 10 player, and he just really didn't have a great supporting cast. It's just we don't typically see that happen.
Conrad, it's hindsight bias, right? Like you appreciate somebody more when they win, and you think that they're worse when they lose. So like, let's say Devin Booker. Is Devin Booker really not a top 10 player? Is Chris Paul not a top 10 player? Well, it depends on who and what you're comparing it to, because if they win a championship and now you look at Chris Paul's career, you're like, this guy is a monster. This guy performs. Then you see Devin Booker. You're like, this guy is a 25 point per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists per game guy. This is Kobe-esque territory in terms of stats and scoring ability. So it just depends relative to like what lens you're looking at it through.
Yeah, I agree. It depends on like the team. It depends on the role. It depends on the situation that the team's currently in, whether that's a game 7 of the NBA Finals or a regular, like the 32nd game of the regular season against the Detroit Pistons, right? Like it depends on what lens you are looking through. I do agree with that. But just continuing on that same trajectory, just to finish up this little part of the Clipper Suns Bucks series, the team has a lot of depth. Even if they don't have a superstar, they have everything it takes. I've said this before. They have like all the pieces that it takes to win a championship. Playmaking, defense, scoring ability, depth, versatility on both sides of the ball to quite extreme levels. Like they're one of the most versatile teams in the entire NBA, at least in my opinion. They have it all. Even if they don't have a superstar, even if they don't have a Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James or Kevin Durant, any of those guys, they have each other. They have a very good team, a very good, 10-man rotation, if you want to say so. And, a lot of times that's good enough to win you a championship if you come in with the right mentality and you come in with the right game plan. Look, ultimately, I think this is going to be a good series. I think this is going to be a fun series. I do have the Suns winning it, especially depending on Giannis's health. The ultimate determining factor for if Giannis were to be fully healthy will be DeAndre Ayton. He will be the X factor. He has been the X factor actually throughout this entire playoff series, but he is most certainly an X factor here more than he has ever been before, because he's been getting a ton of playing time recently because he's their only real option as a big man, really on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And he's going up against Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bobby Portis, a pretty solid stretch of guys that are over 6'8", 6'9", right? He's going up against some pretty big guys. He's going to be getting a lot of wear and tear, in my opinion, and that's just going to be a little bit scary for this team on the defensive side of the ball, because if he gets exhausted, he could maybe go down with an injury, even though I, knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen. It's most certainly a possibility, because he's going to be getting a lot of run time at the 5, most likely, and he's going to be getting attacked by some pretty strong big men, in my opinion, throughout this series. So if the Bucks do win, or if they have a chance of winning, they're going to have to start attacking DeAndre Ayton and play through their big men more than they have, in my opinion, this entire playoff run. We'll see what happens. I still have the Suns winning it. This is my team. Well, not really my team. I'm a Pacers fan, but this has been my team throughout the playoffs. I'm going to say that they win in 5 if Giannis is out for game 1. I say they win in 6 if he's back by game 1. Not even saying that, the Bucks are going to automatically win game 1 if he comes back, but that just might mean that he's healthier than we really expect. But that's my prediction. I think the Suns are going to win this championship. Congrats to Chris Paul for finally getting his first ring, and congrats to, Devin Booker for further improving his early legacy as an NBA player, and get ready for that next NBA season. I guess it's going to be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. The guys that the Bucks are going to throw at the Suns, they don't really scare the Suns. Like Jeff Teague, not going to do much. PJ Tucker is great, and he worked really well in the previous series. They needed that heart, especially when Giannis went down. But when you have guys like Jay Crowder, no one gives him any credit, but he's consistently on winning teams. Mm-hmm. And Jay Crowder is kind of like the PJ Tucker of the Suns, except he's more offensively gifted.
I do agree with that.
And that's their 3rd or 4th best scorer, because you have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton, and Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, who are all very good players. Mm-hmm. Like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are good scorers.
Yep.
They're not great, but they're really good 4 and 5 options.
Oh yeah.
So what worries me about the Bucks is, can Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton really take you to a championship? Is Brook Lopez going to put up 33 points on 75% shooting against
every night?
At the same time, let's flip the script. Other than Chris Paul, who's a veteran, but like a veteran point guard, as much as it helps, we'll see how it plays out. You got Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez. You got vets. You've got guys that have been in the league for a long time. And this Phoenix Suns team is young. And they could come out, and Charles Barkley talked about this on his show. He said, the one regret I have about playing in the NBA was I didn't have my team ready to play game 1. Because once it gets to NBA Finals week, everything's different. There's more media. There's 5 times more reporters. There's beat writers from every city. They're from overseas. Being young and playing in the NBA Finals game 1, it's a little bit of a shock. You're out of your routine. You have to do so many interviews, a lot more media. You may not be getting up those extra shots. Whereas, yes, this is the first appearance for the Bucks, but they're veterans. That's the only thing. Can the Bucks steal a game? Can they steal a game here tonight? That will be huge. That will be absolutely huge, and then we'll have a series. Because talent-wise, just talent alone, I'm worried that the Bucks won't have enough. And then just coaching, don't even get me started on Coach Butthole. Sir.
Yeah. I just realized my take from Scouts episode 4 could easily be ruined right here, right now, and just this same year. I said that the Bucks would never win with Mike Budenholzer as a coach, and he could prove me wrong immediately, even though it would never be to his credit. There's no way that I would ever give the guy credit for stuff like this, but it is what it is. I understand where you're coming from. You did mention it is the first appearance for the Bucks as well, but at the same time, none of those. Everybody, if whoever wins the championship, every single guy on the roster will be getting their first ring.
Yep,
that's just how it works. And so
and Torrey Craig, whoever wins, apparently Torrey Craig gets it.
Yeah, he's getting a ring no matter what because he was on the Bucks earlier in the season. I understand where you're coming from. I do think that it's a little bit of a difference because they are younger, so they just have less experience with media and reporters as a whole. But I don't think that the veteran presence that the Bucks have is that massive over the Suns in this situation, strictly because literally nobody in this finals has won a ring. Literally no one. So it's who really brings championship experience to the table? Nobody does. So it kind of depends on who handles the situation the best. If Chris Paul will be able to lead this team, through all the media preparation, as well as he's been able to lead them on the court and stuff like that. But we'll see what happens. Chris Middleton, I hope you can prove me wrong. I hope you can, come out here, get some buckets, maybe not necessarily win the finals, but just prove that you're a worthy number 2 option behind Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, prove me wrong. I like Chris Middleton. He gets buckets, very efficient player, but I just don't believe he can be a number 2. However, maybe he shows that he can be a number 2 option in this finals matchup. We'll see what happens. But overall, that's all I think we got for you guys today. Thank you for listening to Scouts. We really, 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 really appreciate it. Go ahead, follow Luka Nation Network on Instagram. We've been posting some stuff there, clips from some of the stuff from Luka Tigers LeBron podcast, and of course just some other content for you guys to enjoy as well. Thank you guys for watching once again, and I think next episode, hopefully, the finals are still going on, but soon enough we'll be in the offseason. We'll be giving you guys some offseason talk, trades, drafts, mock drafts, free agency, all of the above. There's going to be plenty to talk about. I think by then we'll probably be going only once a week. Is that correct, Andrew?
We'll see, brother. There's going to be probably once a week in the offseason, but there's going to be a lot of movement, and I think Conrad's going to be a GM. I've said this in the NBA before. He has a work ethic. Guys, he's worked. It's funny. This is how you know the character of your co-host. He's worked harder now that he's out of high school. Now it's summer break than he did in high school. His dad's got him, trimming the hedges, mowing the lawn. He also works a part-time job. He does content for Luka Nation Network. We have this show Scouts. We have Conrad on Cage. The guy is all over the place, and there's no one in the game. There's definitely no one in his age group, but there's no one in the game that knows NBA, the front office, contracts, what players are saying, and where they might go better than this guy. So the true value, if you're an NBA fan or a sports card fan, is going to be Scouts in the offseason. So stay tuned. Whether that's once a week or twice, we'll let you guys know.
I wish my camera was working so you could see the smile on my face. I really appreciate that, Andrew. Thank you guys for listening once again. We'll see you guys next week.
Well, you're not a tech guy, so we'll let you go because this has been a recurring problem. Halfway through, Conrad's camera shuts off. He's doing some. Well, I'm not going to say it.
We'll just wrap it up right there.